Hello everyone, my name is Ali Al-Tajjar. I'm a structural engineer. I work in the United Arab Emirates, and today I'm going to share with you a plugin that I made for columns. This will work for ETABS 2018 and is going to help you import reinforced concrete columns at a much faster rate. You'll be seeing and I'll be sharing and you'll be using. And this will be shared as a plugin, so it will be even better to use. And it's two steps. Step one is exporting column sections, and then there's exporting reinforced column sections. And here you have some tables. To view the tables, you just click import, and it shows you the tables. The reason why no table is shared here is because we don't have any circular columns in our model or any circular objects. And here, this is for Autolists. Step one, which is exporting column sections, this is what we would normally do. Is normally we'd go to materials. We have some of these predefined materials here, C36. We'd go to section properties and we'd define a material similar to C400, 400. We could just say add a copy, for example. And this is how we get, for example, a 500 and 500 here. And 500. We check our property modifiers because it's copied, it's a crack section. Okay, and we go here, it's to be designed. The reason why we go with to be designed initially is because when you're working with the Autolist, ETABS, and this is I've had this for a correspondence through them. Their algorithm is for Autolist chooses the smallest cross section regardless of what you have here in terms of reinforcement. So it's reinforcement to be designed and it's not designed to be checked. And this is for valid for 2018. And we say okay, and that's when we get our next one. What I wanted to do is to make this faster. So now with the plugin, this is what you're going to do. So we'd come here. And we check our model is unlocked, and we come here and we say, do I want circular sections? I'm going to demonstrate all of them for you. You can choose one. That's when that's up to your decision. And then there's rectangular, and then there's square. So I click all three. So this is saying what type of columns do you want to import? So we're selecting all three. Then we're saying what's the minimum dimension? I want the minimum dimension to be 400. You make an engineering decision depending on your loads and spans. And let's say I think 700 is more than enough as the maximum, and I want it in increments of 100, could be 50, that's up to you. And then let's say concrete strength, I want it to be 3645. Now the @ sign is me just so that when it gets imported, I want to differentiate them, so I give them special characters, and we'll see that shortly. And I'll click export frame sections. Now in the script, the final thing in the script that I've had is these tables to be refreshed. So once they're refreshed, we'll know that the script ran, and now we can go back and view it, or we can view it through the tables here. For me, so we can view here through the tables, these new sections got added. Let's just go back here again to ETABS. We'll go to sections, and we have every possibility between 400 to 700. Here's 400, 500, 600, 700. We click on circular sections, 500 diameter. Now these rebars are outside, and this is a visualization issue with ETABS. I've verified with ETABS, I've verified with myself. It's not an issue. If this bothers you, all you have to do is export and re-import the file again. And we'll do that at the end, and all of these will be in the correct places. And then we come here. This is as is to be designed. We're not interested in anything else here. It's a circular column, ties. It's done, no issues here. Okay, we'll look at every possibility for a rectangular and a square section. Again, no issues. Everything is here, everything is fine. Everything is how we want it to be. We also added a C3645 with an @ sign, which is basically it gets added from the outside externally. So we go to materials, and we have it here. That's it, 36. These values can be changed through the API. I might later on work on it, or you can just do it manually. It's up to you. That's the choice to yourself. In the next revision, I might give the user more ability to choose different concrete sections rather than the ones there through inputs, but that will be seen in the later revisions. And that sorts step number one. Number two was designed initially to be an Autoless generator, but unfortunately ETABS suffers from a bug when you try to import concrete Autoless sections. I've raised this with CSI, and they've said that when they release the new revision for ETABS 2018, they will target fixing it, and once it's fixed, they will send a correspondence. Once they do, I'll introduce a new revision and I'll include the Autoless. So normally how I would proceed, regardless of what happened, without any scripts or anything, is I would normally create a new, add a new property. I'll choose an Autoless, set this to concrete, and then I'll take, for example, these sections, I'll drop them here, and then I would assign them into the model, into one of these columns. And then I'll run concrete design, and it will decide that. In this case, since Autoless is not automated, and this is just a manual way, I will not go through it. But let's just say that at the end, Autoless, or whatever method you'd like to use, even if you don't want to use that, has decided that the best sections for example, let's say these. Let's just take these, for example, up to here and say that it was decided as the best ideal section. The minimum section is let's just say 500 by 600. And these, for these example, the remaining columns, let's just say, and this is to demonstrate step number 3, which, well, now it's step number 2 because we don't have the auto lists, but in the future it will be 3. And it decided that we're gonna go with a circular 600 diameter. Okay, that's fine. So what we can do is now we go and we look at what we have here in the graph, in the interface, and we click refresh on the tables. This last one is the most important one for this step, and it's the frame assignment, is what you've assigned in the model. So we've assigned a 600 and we've assigned a 500, 600 section, and these are only it. So once you select your longitudinal rebar, you select your shear rebar, and you click export, it will give you every reinforcement possibility between 1 to 2.5% for different bar diameters for the column sizes that you've actually used, and only the ones you've used. So this is now done. I can view it here, but it's a bit small, so let's look at it in a bigger way and section, and we can see that all of these got added and all of these got added. This is for the 600 and this is for 500, 600. Let's just choose one at random. This here, it says 500 by 600. Okay, great. It says 12 bars T25, and that gives you a 1.96% reinforcement ratio. Okay, we'll look here. 4. That's actually the equivalent of 12, and T25, and the cover is 40. I haven't done much work in confinement bars. That might be addressed in the future. And 460 and 420, and that's perfectly done. And now it's important. Now, these here can still have visualization issues. They will not be the correct number of bars, but when you export and re-import the model, they will be. And if you decide to proceed without it, you will still get accurate results and you'll not be impacted. And if it bothers you visually, export, import, and we'll do that at the end as well to demonstrate it. We'll look at our circular bars, and we have these. I know that this, again, visualization, import, export fixes it if you're that interested. Otherwise, it doesn't affect your analysis and results. And then when we look here, we'll see that 12 bars were selected and they're T20s and the cover is 40. Perfect. And T10 150 is usually what you're going to get. I didn't really do any equation or anything for it. It just always gives T10 150. And that's done. That's done. And now, is that what I would normally do? Is I would run the, why did I do this? Is because I would run the model, as you can see, and this should be a relatively quick model. It's a small one. And I would look at what are you, when I run concrete design, what is it giving me for the reinforcement? Now, the auto list, if you've used it, or if you haven't, that's a choice, a personal choice for the engineer, is it gives you the smallest cross section. So now you want to know what the reinforcement goes with it. Do you need to actually up the section? And once we run our concrete design for this, and it will, we can say in the concrete design, we can say, oh, display design info, everything seems to have, all the sizes seem to be fit, but now we need to look at the rebar percentage, and we look at the rebar percentage through here, and it's saying, well, this is a 1.47%, these are 1%, and all you gotta do is just simply take these, if these are all circular columns, yep, C600, and then you can just override them pretty much. You can override them. You can do this however you feel like. You can override it, and we already know that a 1.5% satisfies all of them, but the majority only need 1%. Only one column in particular needed 1.5, and we can find here that we have, let's just say 10 bars T25 is 1.77%, and then we just click OK. We look at it again, and then we get this. So that's pretty much like what it is. That's the only reason I did it this way. There's different ways you can do it. That's a freedom. The main part is to input these as fast as possible. So whatever method you use, you go by it. Finally, and the final step that I want to demonstrate is what is the export and the import, because I know some people will have some issues with it. So all you gotta do, save your file, and just click import, and import this and import the file directly, and that's it. That's pretty much it. And now when we look at the sections, you will have the exact number of columns, the exact rebar, so you're not going to have any issues with the visualization. And again, if you did not do this step, you're not going to be impacted. But some people feel more comfortable when they see it that way, and that's perfectly fine. And the idea behind this is that you still have to follow the process. There's no shortcuts to the process of designing, but there's just faster ways of eliminating the mundane, repeated, boring tasks that you got to do along the way. So it looks a bit funny because we have some circular and then we have here some rectangular sections. And when we go here to our frame sections, let's say the circular ones, we'll see that the rear bars have now taken their positions. We'll look again, just double check. 10 bars, T25, copper 40, and then T10 150. And yeah, that takes it. Now, how will you use it as the end user? You're not going to have this particular graphical interface. I know it has a lot more options, but it's still a work in progress. And having a second individual like window doesn't make it faster. It's a bit. So what I did is I took this and I made it into a plugin. And this is what I'll be sharing with you. So wherever you find this video, below you'll find a link, and you'll go to the link and you'll download the files. And so their plugin is already here, but I'm going to delete it and I'll show it to you again. So let's just you browse. So for example, I have it already here saved where my plugin is. I'm just going to show it to you quickly. And you're going to have two files. This file, which is ETABS v1, this is your dynamic library. And this dynamic library is provided by ETABS. This is already on your computer when you have ETABS. And ETABS v1 came with the 2018 edition so that it can be compatible with all future ETABS without having to change the code. Now, the ETABS plugin, this is the code that I compiled. And all you got to do, you put them in a folder, double click. It says add, status, OK, perfect, that's done. And you just click OK, and you go there, and now you run your ETABS plugin. You'll have this window here. You'll check for circular, rectangular, square. You can do it again. Let's just try a quick demonstration of 1000 to 1100, and we can put an increment of 50. We can put a C40. We can hit the button. Wait for it to refresh. This last table did not refresh, so that tells me right there that it's not yet done. And yeah, now it's all done, it's refreshed. And now when we go to our section properties, we should be able to see 100, 1000, 1150, 1050, and 1100. And the same thing for our sections. Again, if these are an issue at some point, just import and export. If you want it for the visual, you'll see C4050, and that would have already gotten added in the material properties over here. All these @ signs means you got them through the interactive database. Again, that's pretty much straightforward. You click, actually I think it should have been already running. Yeah, so you can refresh as many times as you want here. For whatever reason you want to see it, you can do the same thing here. And then you just click X, plugin completed successfully, and then you're done. I know this is a version 1.0. I will add beams, so you can do your section properties for beams. And when they fix the Autoless, I will put the Autoless as an automated thing. If you have any ideas, anything you'd like to share, I'm more than happy. Now, if you wanted the code behind this plugin, I'm planning to put it, once I complete some more features, I'm planning to put it on GitHub or another website, and anybody can be able to view it and interact with it. Thank you very much for listening, and I do hope you find this useful. And if you do, please like and please share it with other people. Thank you very much for listening.